from the Wild Horse Butte Community Development Corporation during her time as their chief financial officer. Peterson wrote.
Good morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. I was sorry that we were not able to get you the 6 a.m. hour on YouTube yesterday. I had it all set up, and in fact, I think that may have been the problem. I set it up maybe about 20 minutes before the show actually began, 25 minutes. And when I reached over and clicked go live, then it came up with an error, and sharing that I just don't have time to troubleshoot at that point. I'm moments away from going on the air here, so that's why there was no 6 a.m. hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. Certainly you would have heard it on Kello, but that's why you didn't see it yesterday on YouTube. So I'm sorry for the burp. So this morning, I didn't set it up nearly as early as I had done yesterday. I just wonder if it was allowing it to sit for that length of time, if maybe that's what caused the problem. So anyway, let's get underway, find out what's going on this morning. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciated.
Sioux Falls area. Our high temperature at 67.
I should mention I'm without a call screener today, too. My producer, John, his last day was yesterday, and he's going to be pretty sorely missed. So I'm really going to be running on fumes today. So bear with me.
I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens. Quench your thirst for information at the Kello Water Cooler. Kello, News Talk 1320 107.9 and Kello.com. The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense, no prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the Greg.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. It is great to have you along. Hope you have a great Tuesday. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Big stories this morning. So Donald Trump is going after, he's down in the wake of Hurricane Helene. Donald Trump is there. And he was meeting with Republican Governor Brian Kemp and excuse me, as others. He was meeting with others. I don't think Kemp was actually there with Trump, but Trump was there, and he said that Kemp was having a hard time getting the president on the phone. He said the federal government is not being very responsive to what's going on. And they made some other claims as well, and we'll kind of work our way through those. Trump, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. So Trump also claiming that Kamala Harris had staged a photo of herself that she had included in a tweet about her phone calls with FEMA, as well as North Carolina's Democratic Governor Roy Cooper, because her headphones were not plugged into her phone. Trump says, pointing out the photo, look, her headphones are not even plugged into her phone. So the Trump again saying the federal government is not being very responsive. So he's on the ground. This is what he's hearing from people. And he's saying we've got the president then responding to that. I'm trying to boil all this down into these are separate stories, and none of them are very well written. The president responding to Trump, and he's speaking from the White House, and he is upset. And you may have heard the audio of the president, and he said of Trump, he's lying. I don't know why he does this. And the reason I get so angry about it, I don't care what he says about me, but I care what he communicates to the people that are in need. He implies that we're not doing everything possible. We are, the president said. And then he was defended his decision then to work for part of the weekend from his Delaware beach house. And he said, now he's speaking about Delaware, saying it's the beach house. It's 90 miles from here. He was asked, had he regretted going to Delaware from Washington? It's 90 miles from here, and I was on the phone the whole time. It's called the telephone. This is like, so you're going to the beach house and you're on the phone the whole time. Why wouldn't you just remain in Washington? I mean, if you're on the phone the entire time, then why are you going to your beach house? I mean, I think it's a very fair question to ask. So he's upset. Donald Trump is saying that the federal government's not being very responsive. And he said that, again, Governor Brian Kemp was having a hard time getting the president on the phone. Kemp himself is saying, no, that's not true. That he had spoken to the president. So a lot of anger, and Biden is upset with Donald Trump for what he's doing and what he's saying. And meanwhile, Donald Trump launched a GoFundMe to help the victims of the hurricane. And this is absolutely incredible. He raised more than $1 million yesterday after this was announced. And I checked it this morning. The total was earlier this morning at $1,648,000 plus. So people are responding. This GoFundMe page that was launched by the Trump campaign. And it says, with so many across the southeastern U.S. facing challenges after the storm, President Trump is on the ground in communities to see the aftermath firsthand. All donations will be directed to help those most affected by Hurricane Helene. Any level of generosity will go a long way for your fellow Americans who are suffering. So that's what it says at GoFundMe, and you've got a number of folks who are donating. U.S. Senator Kelly Loeffler of Georgia gave $500,000. Bass Pro Shop gave $100,000. The Dana White, and presumably we're talking about the CEO of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, who's a close friend of Trump's, gave $100,000. William Ackman, who is a hedge fund billionaire, pledged $100,000, and it just goes on. Kid Rock, Senator John Barrasso, number of others who are giving to that. So again, it's pretty easy to find it if you feel so inclined and you want to help the, those who are suffering from Hurricane Helene. Just an easy search, Trump and GoFundMe, hurricane. It'll be very, very easy to find. Also, Donald Trump said yesterday is working with Elon Musk to get Starlink internet connected in order to help folks in need. So Trump was speaking in Georgia. He said, I just spoke to Elon. We want to get Starlink hooked up because they have no communication whatsoever, and Elon will always come through. Trump said, we're going to try and get the Starlink in there as soon as possible. And throughout our region, our hearts are with you. And we are going to be with you as long as you need. You're in our prayers. And we pray to God and throughout these long weeks, the long weeks that lay ahead, you're going to have a lot of work, but the end result is it's going to be good. So Trump working with Elon Musk then to set up Starlink and get Starlink internet connected for folks in these areas. That's a big story this morning. Also, early this morning now, dock workers at ports across the country began their strike over wages and automation. And this is the contract between the International Longshoremen's Association and 36 ports from Maine to Texas, all being affected by this. So the strike went forward despite some reported progress in the negotiations. It's the first strike by the union since 1977. So the union they had made an offer for a 77% pay increase over the 6-year contract. Union president saying the increase necessary to compensate for years of minor increases and inflation. So what is this going to mean with all of these dock workers going on strike? And experts say that that U.S. consumers won't see an immediate impact because retailers are already stocked, but you could see delays on holiday gift items depending how long the strike lasts. An extended strike could cause supply shortages, higher prices, which nobody wants to see. Produce could be affected, perishable imports. And the strike could also affect traffic jams of vehicles and goods at airports. And this goes on. Axios has got a story this morning why East and Gulf Coast the port strike could push up consumer prices. So retailers will, this is what they're saying, retailers will face added costs such as for shipping, additional warehouse space, trucking, and restocking food and other perishable inventory, according to the vice president of supply chain and customs policy at the National Retail Federation. It's not just about the strike itself, but it's about how long it's going to take to recover from a strike. So what that's going to mean, that's a very big story this morning, what that's going to mean moving forward. We could see some longer term impact from that, especially as we start getting into the holiday shopping season. Also, the third Lebanon war has officially begun. This is according to Israel's Army radio. Israel Defense Forces crossed into Lebanon early this morning. Remember, they're quite a number of hours ahead of us. But IDF apparently crossed into Lebanon in the panhandle of Israel's Galilee region. And there are a number of stories that are trending surrounding this morning. What's going on in the Middle East. So I will share more news regarding this with you this morning. Again, just easily 4 or 5 stories that have been trending since this effort began, and again at this point now well underway. And I'll get you more details when we get into Bell's News Gallery. Also, Pete Rose has died at the age of 83. This was announced yesterday. Rose, who is one of baseball's greats and all-time hit king, and denied a spot in the Hall of Fame and became a big issue, and it doesn't sound like that will change. The And I saw some of the reaction on social media from people, oh, it's too late now. Rose has died. Too late now. I don't think he was ever going to be in the Hall of Fame. It's pretty clear because Fay Vincent was deputy commissioner. He played a big part then in negotiating the settlement with Rose when during the lifetime ban from baseball. Fay Vincent was at the center of that along with Rose, working with, Rose. So Rose accepted the lifetime ban for betting on baseball. And so now after his death, Vincent, this is a piece at the New York Post, is saying, this is not going to change. And he talked about how hardened Rose had become over the years. And this makes sense. When you know somebody who is battling an addiction, and for Rose, it was gambling. He was battling the addiction of gambling. It became, seriously, it just overtook him. And I think destroyed the legacy that he had built up until then, as we learned about all of this. And which is what's so unfortunate. But Vincent said, Pete Rose, he said, I think he was devoted to baseball in the sense of the game, and his effort was certainly intense. He had a series of problems relating to his standards for conduct. He made some mistakes as he came along, and by the time I got to know him and Bart and I dealt with him in the betting issue, it was really too late. He had formed this attitude and his character, and I'm afraid that he really thought that money was so important. He was betting a lot, and he lost a lot, and I think the corruption problem in his life was a serious one. So Fay Vincent is saying, well, a lot of people are, I think Pete Rose deserves to be remembered certainly for his successes, but it's hard, I think, also not to reflect on his failures. It's unfortunate. He really wanted to get into Baseball Hall of Fame. Baseball was obviously a very huge part of his life, and it's really unfortunate that he began betting on baseball. Not understanding what impact that was. And how many of us do this? You make decisions not understanding what the impact on your life may be. And it's only until later, maybe you go, oh, and I don't know if Pete Rose ever hit that point, because Pete Rose just he just seemed to dig in his heels more and more. And it was just really unfortunate. So Pete Rose has died at the age of 83. That's a big story this morning. So we're talking about Pete Rose's death. Jimmy Carter today is 100 years old. Jimmy Carter is celebrating his 100th birthday today. First time an American president has lived to be 100 years old. And it's one of a number of milestones that Jimmy Carter has reached over the course of his life. Pretty incredible. Jimmy Carter's son Jason said, not everybody gets 100 years on this earth. And when somebody does, and when they use that time to do so much good for so many people, it's worth, and this is his grandson, actually, excuse me. He said, it's worth celebrating. He said, these last few months, 19 months, now that he's been in hospice, it's been a chance for our family to reflect, and for the rest of the country and the world to really reflect on him. That's been a really gratifying time. So this Jimmy Carter's grandson, Jimmy Carter, turning 100 years old today in St. Paul, Minnesota. Habitat for Humanity volunteers are honoring Carter with a 5-day effort to build 30 houses. The Carters had been ambassadors then for Habitat for Humanity after leaving the White House, and they did annual building projects well into their 90s. The last time Jimmy Carter was seen publicly was nearly a year ago, when he attended his wife's 2 funeral services. So Jimmy Carter turning 100 years old today. That is absolutely incredible. Big story this morning. Also, excuse me, Elon Musk is explaining while this will be the last election if Trump is not elected. This is what Elon Musk is saying. And this is the first time I've been active in an election because I believe the fate of America hangs in the balance, he said. Very few Americans realize that if Trump is not elected, this will be the last election. Far from being a threat to democracy, he is the only way to save it. So what Elon Musk is saying, we're going to talk about that in more detail. We've got the vice presidential debate, which is coming up tonight. I'm curious about that. Do you plan on watching the vice presidential debate? We're going to be talking about it in more detail coming up tomorrow, but there are reports, and you'll see this in stories that are trending coming up, that Tim Walz apparently quite nervous about the debate coming up tonight. Number of stories trending surrounding that, and I'll share those with you coming up. I want to thank you so much for letting me join you this morning. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Ben Robbins, weekdays at 2. Callow, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires. See in-store details about how to get rebates from major tire manufacturers. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Anderson picture and combination windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and lighting the bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
That's ABC Seamless. Protect your home with style, ensuring lasting beauty and protection. Upgrade your roof today. Call Woods Roofing Inc. at 605-764-9517 for your free estimate. For a hole in your roof or for a whole new roof, give us a call. 605-764-9517.
I meant to have a story about the vice presidential debate coming up tonight. And again, it's trending this morning. So we'll touch on that in more detail coming up this morning. Do you plan on watching? And I think there's really an opportunity here for J.D. Vance to blow Tim Walz out of the water. He's smart enough, I think. Smart enough to do it. I've been very impressed with him the more I watch him. So will you be tuning into this vice presidential debate? I don't know. We really won't know until afterwards as to whether or not this will be a game changer. Certainly, there's a potential for the debate to be a game changer coming up tonight. So whether or not that'll be the case, we'll see. But we'll talk about that in more detail tomorrow once we know what actually happens. I'm just curious as to whether or not you plan on watching. I was really struck by this Elon Musk, these comments by Elon Musk about this election being incredibly important, and that if Donald Trump doesn't win, that's it. That's the opinion of Elon Musk. And I wonder how many of us share that opinion. We'll talk about that coming up this morning. Okay, here we go.
Partly cloudy skies today for the Sioux Falls area. Our high at 67.
And forgive me, I'm just scrambling like crazy this morning, especially without John here. So John, I miss you.
Temperatures likely back in the low 70s on Thursday. From the storm center.
And currently in Sioux Falls, clear skies, 43 at Kello. Okay, news headlines coming up. We'll check in with Fox News Radio. Got the vice presidential debate coming up tonight. We got Donald Trump down south in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. So details on that coming up. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com news center. Joe says authorities are investigating a house explosion in the town of Gary. Also, former CFO of a tribal organization has pled guilty to charges of larceny and embezzlement. There was a heavy police presence outside of 2 Sioux Falls schools yesterday. And Joe will have details on those stories and more for you coming up here in just a few moments. It's great to have you along. All right, here we go. 6:30, clear and 43 currently at Kello. My timing is terrible.
We are fighting for our families, and we are fighting for the rights, so that we have a right to get a piece of that money that they got so much of, and we're going to do it. We're going to walk away with a great contract.
Sticking points involve wage increases and the use of automation. President Joe Biden is planning to survey devastation in the mountains of western North Carolina tomorrow, where hundreds of people are still missing after Helene.
Active National Guard and other agencies are out in the air when the light comes up looking for people because they're still cut off with no power, no cell phone service, no food, no water.
That is Fox Weather's Robert Ray in Asheville, North Carolina. America is listening to Fox News.
News brought to you by Sioux Falls Implant and Sedation Dentistry. They fix your teeth while you sleep.
Kello News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Authorities are investigating a house explosion in the town of Gary. Dual County emergency crews arrived on scene just before 10:30 yesterday morning to find a home totally destroyed. Authorities say 2 people were inside the home at the time of the explosion. Both are now in critical condition. No word yet on the cause. A former CFO of a tribal organization has pled guilty to charges of larceny and embezzlement. 58-year-old Madonna Peterson stole more than $100,000 from the Wild Horse Butte Community Development Corporation during her time as their chief financial officer. Peterson wrote fake paychecks to herself as well as fake reimbursement requests. She faces a maximum of 5 years behind bars. A heavy police presence was seen outside 2 local schools yesterday. Sioux Falls police was searching for a person to conduct a well-being check when during the search it was reported that person may be armed. The individual was believed to be in the area near Washington High School and Ann Sullivan Elementary. The 2 schools were placed in lockdown just to be safe. A separate report indicated there was an active shooter inside Washington High School, but authorities found that report not credible. Police later located the well-being check person and said there was no danger to the public. She's a long shot for her run for Congress. Still, Democrat Cheryl Johnson says she'll give the office her full attention. She says incumbent Dusty Johnson will be distracted by an expected run for governor in 2026.
My opponent's a nice guy, but he's a career politician. He's already looking for his governor's race. And I just ask everybody, do we want to elect somebody who's going to get a taxpayer salary for 2 years and use that whole 2 years to raise money and run for governor? And I say no.
Cheryl Johnson says she hopes to be the voice of South Dakotans who feel left behind. And October is Cyber Security Awareness Month in South Dakota. Cyber experts advise to use strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, and to recognize phishing. Learn more at staysafeonline.org. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Partly cloudy skies today for the Sioux Falls area. Our high temperature at 67 with a northwest wind at 5 to 15. For tonight, not as chilly. Our low temperature at 50 with a south breeze 10 to 15. Tomorrow, we warm back up with a southwest wind and a high of 82. That's the latest on your weather from the Storm Center at Kettleland TV. I'm meteorologist Brian Carstens.
Kello stands for news. Always has, always will. Kello News Talk 1320, 107.9 and Kello.com.
Today, an outrageous but true story about Uber. In fact, this story is so outrageous that it's probably going to make you angry, and it should. I'm Kim Commando for T-Mobile. Their advanced network now goes farther than ever before. Visit T-Mobile.com/55 today. Before you take another Uber ride, remember John and Georgia McGinty. Like millions of others each day, they were taking an Uber in March of 2022. On this trip, their Uber driver ran a red light and T-boned another vehicle. The Uber driver was completely at fault. The couple's injuries and medical expenses were both severe and catastrophic, life-changing. But when the McGinty's attempted to recover damages and medical costs, they could not sue. Buried in the fine print of Uber's terms and conditions is a legal clause saying that when you use Uber, you give up your 7th Amendment constitutional rights to sue, and you agree to those terms every time you ride with Uber. It's something to think about. It's your last chance to enter to win a new iPhone 16 at winfromkim.com. Hey friends, Kim here. You know, it seems the older you get, the savvier you become at saving money. I really hate to overspend on things, especially the necessities. But thanks to T-Mobile, I don't have to worry about overpaying for wireless service, so I've got more time and money to spend on other things. At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a month per line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, Scam Shield Premium is included, which means fewer scam calls and more tools to help you optimize and organize your mobile life. Experience all this and more with T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network. Don't miss out. Get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for $30 a month per line at T-Mobile. Visit T-Mobile.com or your local store to make the switch and save.
With autopay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees. 25% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details. Capable device required for Scam Shield. Turning on Scam Block. My block calls you want. Disable anytime.
The Kim Commando Show. Live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires, your Give You More tire and automotive store. Financing programs available. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Stock up on hunting supplies from ABN Army Surplus and Tactical Gear. Find all-weather clothing, boots, and equipment. Sleeping bags, canteens, binoculars, and more. ABN Army Surplus. Family-owned and operated and a Purple Heart business. 3 blocks south of the Premier Center.
Grain Insight is an algorithm-based managed bushel service to help farmers level the playing field. Grain Insight was designed at managing risk to take the emotion out of grain marketing. Text GRAIN at 605-291-1020 for more information. Trading futures and options involves transfer risk of loss.
Okay.
More than 6 million kids in the U.S. have ADHD, and many aren't getting the support they need. At understood.org, we can help. Sometimes in class, the only thing your child can focus on are the thoughts racing through their head.
Why am I always falling behind? Why do I feel so alone? So different.
Your child is looking to you for answers. But as a parent, you probably have a lot of questions too. What should I do next? Where do I even start? At understood.org, we provide parents with the resources they need to help kids with ADHD thrive. Your child wants to thrive. Be the reason they do. Visit understood.org/the reason to get started.
Are you looking for independent senior living with a friendly, home-like feel? You're going to find it at Washington Crossing. Washington Crossing is Sioux Falls' premier independent senior living community. Locally owned and operated, Washington Crossing takes pride, and they offer clean, comfortable retirement living. The apartments there are beautiful. They're spacious. They're surrounded by a welcoming atmosphere, caring staff at Washington Crossing. Enjoy the freedom to live life your way with a wide range of activities, friendly neighbors, plus you'll have peace of mind knowing that you're part of a supportive, growing community. Washington Crossing also has an assisted living option, and it provides a perfect blend of independence and support, and it's completely tailored to your needs. So whether it's assistance with medication or housekeeping, or maybe you need help with daily activities like bathing and dressing, their team is there to help. So schedule your free private tour today and see why so many others are choosing Washington Crossing. Give them a call today, 605-271-9273. That's 605-271-9273. Washington Crossing, premier independent living at a great value.
Some mornings you might not have that get up and go.
Ooh, but at least you can get up and know.
The Greg Belfrage Show, with insightful opinions on the latest stories and particular weather updates. It'll get you in the know while you're getting ready to go. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9. Entertaining talk and news when it happens.
20 minutes before 7 now. Clear skies and 43 at Kello. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show. Thanks so much for being here. This hour of our show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
A lot of stories that are trending this morning regarding Israel and the war in the Middle East. So there's been news here over the last yesterday and today leading up to where we're at right now. So in sharing some of this, Israel Defense Forces punched back at Houthi terrorists in Yemen on Sunday. The terrorists had been firing missiles at Israel over the course of the last couple of days. So those strikes came just a couple of days after Israel had killed one of Hezbollah's leaders in southern Lebanon. And there are stories trending surrounding that. Also, at least 100 people died on Sunday, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry, following the Israeli airstrikes. And so these attacks were coming ahead of a broader invasion into Lebanon, which we have now seen. The local residents and a security force told Reuters yesterday that the Lebanese army withdrew from several positions on Lebanon's southern border. And there have been threats of an Israeli incursion then inside the country. And we have seen that Israel now has began their ground offensive against Hezbollah in Lebanon. So they crossed into southern Lebanon earlier today. And this Associated Press says this marks a significant escalation of an offensive against Hezbollah, opening a new front in a year-long war against their adversaries. So the incursion follows weeks of heavy blows by Israel against Hezbollah, including an airstrike that killed its longtime leader, and seeks to step up the pressure on the group then. That's a big story this morning. All right, let's look more domestically now. Donald Trump, number of stories surrounding Donald Trump. Donald Trump in Valdosta, Georgia. And even before he got there on True Social, he said, we're now heading to Valdosta, Georgia in order to pay my respects and bring lots of relief material, including fuel, equipment, water, and other things to the state. He said yesterday. And he said many politicians and law enforcement will be there. We'll be saying hello to Franklin Graham, a number of others here he mentioned by name, the mayor of Valdosta, Scott James. They're working very hard, Trump said. So Trump getting there and promising to help rebuild And it's, as folks are there, it's pretty devastating. You see what's going on. One woman, 51, she said, this was probably the first time in my life, I'm 51, for at least a minute or two, I feared for my life, she says. Wow. And another who said, we're trying to make the best out of it, but it's been a mess. Some people are really suffering. So these are residents of Valdosta. And then again, Trump there, he said, we're here today to stand in complete solidarity with the people of Georgia and with all those suffering in the terrible aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene turned out to be a big one, just about the biggest one anyone's ever seen, he said. And he said, working together, we'll overcome these hardships that we'll endure. We'll rebuild Valdosta and every other town that's been badly hit. So Donald Trump also launched a GoFundMe to benefit victims in the wake of Hurricane Helene. So this was a GoFundMe page launched by the Trump campaign. And it was, as soon as it was announced, literally pretty quickly, it had raised more than $1 million. And I checked it this morning. It's at 1,648,000 plus. That's where it's at this morning. And you've got some folks who are making some pretty significant contributions. U.S. Senator Kelly Loeffler of Georgia gave $500,000. Bass Pro Shop gave $100,000. You had a number of others. William Ackman, Kid Rock, U.S. Senator John Barrasso, and others who are giving. Also, there's a story regarding Trump that Donald Trump is cutting into Democrats' advantage with Latino voters. The Democrats' advantage is at its lowest level going back 4 presidential cycles, according to a new NBC News Telemundo CNBC poll. So Vice President Kamala Harris comes in at 54% among registered Latinos. Trump is at over 40%. And so he's been gaining ground there. Donald Trump has been gaining ground. Also, there are reports that Tim Walz is nervous about facing J.D. Vance in tonight's vice presidential debate. So apparently he has fretted to friends about worrying that he will let Kamala Harris down. This is what people close to Walz had told CNN. And this story actually was going into the weekend. So but it's trending this morning. So it's out there that Tim Walz nervous about the upcoming debate that's coming up tonight. Also, Pete Rose has died at the age of 83. And he was an incredible player, but unfortunately is also known for his betting scandal. He was banned from baseball for life for betting on the sport. Rose was known as Charlie Hustle during his playing days. His style of play was absolutely incredible. Pete Rose was a great ball player. He won, his best seasons came with the Cincinnati Reds. They won back-to-back titles in 1975 and 76. Rose was the World Series MVP in 75. In 78, He captivated baseball as he chased Joe DiMaggio's record, the 56-game hitting streak. He eventually tied the National League mark of 44 games, and that's where it ended. So Rose clearly was one of the best baseball players ever. Also, today is Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday today. And President Joe Biden praised Jimmy Carter ahead of his birthday, saying, "Mr. President, I admire you so darn much. Your hopeful vision of our country, your commitment to a better world, and your unwavering belief in the power of human goodness continues to be a guiding light for all of us." That's a bit much. Have we seen Joe Biden putting those? He's saying this. It is. Are we seeing Joe Biden being guided by those things? Are you? Biden praised Carter as one of the most influential statesmen of our history, he said. "Even after you left office, the moral clarity you showed throughout your career showed through again in your commitment through the Carter Center and Habitat for Humanity, resolving conflicts, advancing democracy, preventing disease, and so much more. It's transforming the lives of people not only at home, but around the world." He said, "Mr. President, you've always been a moral force for our nation and the world. I recognize that as a young senator. That's why I supported you so early. You're a voice of courage, conviction, compassion, and most of all, a beloved friend of Jill and me and our family," the president said of Jimmy Carter, again, celebrating his 100th birthday today. This is a sad story about Baseball Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo. Died of brain cancer at the age of 58, or excuse me, the NBA Hall of Fame basketball player, well-known basketball player, Hall of Famer. And the NBA announced this yesterday. He has died of brain cancer at the age of 58. So his family had revealed 2 years ago that he was undergoing treatment for a brain tumor. And the NBA says he died surrounded by his family. That he was simply larger than life, the commissioner said. On the court, he was one of the greatest shot blockers and defensive players in the history of the NBA. Off the floor, he poured his heart and soul into helping others. Also, Mayor Eric Adams filed a motion yesterday to dismiss the charge that Adams accepted bribes from Turkish officials. And so his case going on, he's saying that the favors that he did for the Turkish government were actually legal, not a violation of the law. Also, Ryan Routh has pled not guilty. Remember Ryan Routh, this is the man who is facing attempted assassination charges for going after Donald Trump here recently. He pled not guilty to 5 counts for this Trump plot. Well, of course he did. And the more we learn about him, the more unsettling it is. Also, Representative Jim Comer of Kentucky subpoenaed Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas yesterday over Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and his alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party. And this is apparently a whistleblower who is claiming this. Walz has visited China 30 times, was previously a fellow at a Chinese institution which maintains a devotion to the CCP. And so Comer also demanded that the director of the FBI submit documents and communications related to conversations between Walls and entities connected to the Chinese Communist Party. The Comer said yesterday the committee now has received whistleblower information alleging serious concern about Walls. Other stories we've got a few sports stories that are trending this morning. New York Mets will be playing baseball in October. They had a dramatic 8-7 victory over the Atlanta Braves in the first game of yesterday's doubleheader. So the Mets, with that win, have clinched a playoff spot for the second time in 3 years. It's also the second time they will be in the postseason since Steve Cohen purchased the team. Also, Alabama vaulting Texas for the number one spot in the AP Top 25 poll. So the win with Georgia, with that win, then Georgia ranking as the best in college football this season. Also, NFL, 2 Monday Night Football games closing out week 4 of the NFL season. So there are a number of stories around that are trending this morning. Week 4 questions. USA Today's got a story, 32 things we learned in NFL week 4. Also, DirecTV announced that it is buying its rival Dish Network. DirecTV buying Dish Network for $1. So this is ending decades of on and off talks about these satellite services merging. So the companies have struggled to retain subscribers in the streaming era. Platforms like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon's Prime Video, all gaining traction. They have peeled away millions of subscribers away from pay TV just because it costs less. It costs less. And so now DirecTV buying Dish Network. Also trending this morning, California suing a Catholic hospital for denying a patient an emergency abortion. There's another abortion story that's trending this morning. Georgia's heartbeat abortion ban was struck down by a judge. The judge issued the ruling, which will make abortions available until about 22 weeks of pregnancy in Georgia. Hillary Clinton is saying that Joe Biden did the right thing by stepping aside, she said. So that was the correct decision. She said after the debate, once that debate happened, he could not recover, and he did the right thing, says Hillary Clinton. And those are the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
The Sharks Senior Think Tank.
I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, the 6 a.m. hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. So I hope you'll join us on YouTube coming up at 9:30 this morning for the 4th hour. I hope to see you then. So otherwise, take care. Have a great Tuesday. See you again soon, I hope.